The good, the bad, and the odd. Just when you think you're out, they pull you back in.
Welcome to this episode of The Good, the Bad, and the Odd. We host Mark and Sam. Today we are carrying on our Star Trek voyage with number 5, The Final Frontier, and number 6, The Undiscovered Country. And we're on episode 438. How about that?
Wow.
438. So if you want to contact us, www.thegoodthebadandtheodd.com is the place to find out anything about us. We've got a Facebook group. I'm running a number of podcasts out of The Good, the Bad, and the Odd now. I've also got a Twin Peaks one and X-Files one, and sometimes a Kingology one. So, there's all of those apart from these main ones. But all the details are on the website. Also on Stitcher. Facebook's the best place to come and talk to us, though, really. Facebook.com. I'm just trying to find a link. Facebook.com. And then The Good, the Bad, and the Odd. But each word hyphenated. The Good, the Bad, and the Odd. So that's the easiest way to find us. If you want to come talk to us, come join in. Why not? Okay, let's play a trailer for another podcast and then pull up the comfy chair.
The United Nations of Horror.
Welcome back to the United Nations of Horror,
An international podcast about all things horror.
He emptied pubs when the show was broadcast on a Saturday night. It was literally that powerful. It was a sensation in the press. There were even questions in Parliament. And the more intelligent runners of pubs actually had to wheel in a TV to keep the regulars in there on a Saturday night rather than go home.
A podcast featuring a group of hardcore horror fans from all over the globe.
And so to watch that and just see how influential it was, this little-known film that I knew nothing about, I thought it was really cool, and it still holds up.
Each episode features a main topic.
And our main subject today is the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Today we're tackling early German horror, looking at the Golem, how he came into the world.
Der Golem und wie in die Welt kam.
A horror podcast with a community focus.
Well, hey folks, this is Anthony back with another TV terror entry. This week we're talking Halloween.
Salutations, fellow horror fans. This is Talisha Tarver, your horror librarian, here to discuss this week's book tie-in for the entity,
The United Nations of Horror. Visit us online at www.unitednationsofhorror.com.
So much ghost rape in this episode.
We're kind of rapey,
Please keep that quote in.
Yes.
United Nations of Horror. We're kind of rapey.
Get the comfy chair!
Okay, the comfy chair. How many you got, Sam?
I have 4.
I've got 4. They're going to be pretty short ones, just so you know, but I have got 4. So, do you want to go first?
Okay, now my first one is actually kind of related to something we did in the not too recent past, but
yeah,
it was just towards the end of last year. Did you know there was a Kolchak comic series?
I was kind of aware there was lots of books.
I say series, there was 2. But
so what, 2 comics or 2 series?
Yeah, there was like a brief run from Dark Horse Comics, I think it is.
So 2 runs?
No, 2 comics, 2 stories.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not great, but I thought you might like to know.
I wouldn't mind reading them. I know there's lots of books. There is lots of Kolchak books, which I kind of was amazed about when I started looking into it, because I was considering, I wrote the X-Files book. I was considering a Kolchak book, so I was like looking into other literature around Kolchak, and then I found all these, all these books. It's not fan fiction; it's published books. But
it's based off of a book.
Yes, it is. Well, an unpublished book, so an unpublished story. I think they may have published it once it was on the TV, but the book itself wasn't published before.
I think they might make an allusion to that in the comic, because one of the storylines is he runs into a vampire, and it turns out that this vampire is the one that I can't remember. It was either he sired the vampire in the film,
right,
or he was sired by the
probably
the
was. I
vampire
would
film.
imagine, but yeah,
because
okay,
he was no longer a vampire.
Interesting.
He was mortal.
Well,
and he actually thanked Kolchak for killing that vampire.
That's interesting.
And he said something like, I'd read your book, The Night Stalker, and then I read this other thing called The Case of Karl Kolchak, and it sounded too similar to be like anything. And he was basically he was like a book, not an editor, like a distributor. He headed a distribution firm, so he was trying to shut it down.
Yeah.
That sort of thing. It was just like a weird sort of... The story didn't really go anywhere. Kolchak went out to this big spooky mansion. There was like a lurch butler and all sorts of things. Everything that would like lead up to the fight. Okay. And then it just didn't happen. So
right.
The other one was about a giant. But
it's funny you should mention Kolchak because I was on a Facebook group that I'm sometimes going called TV Terror. It's a great Facebook group because it talks about like horror and scary stuff in TV, which is fine. You know, there's lots of TV shows that are scary, but it actually talks a lot about TV movies, and it's starting to open my eyes quite a lot about how good some TV movies are, and it's kind of a forgotten genre. You know, or category of films.
They don't really get done anymore, so...
No, they don't get... But there was a lot in, like, the 70s. And they got kind of dismissed. I mean, everyone knows, like, the famous ones like Duel and stuff like that. And they kind of transitioned into TV miniseries. That's what happened. So Salem's Lot sometimes gets put in as a TV movie, but in fact it was a mini-series, a 2-part mini-series, so it's like 3 hours. And it is that kind of thing, right? Yeah. But they're not quite TV movies because they're a bit... Like, the form's a little longer, but there's an awful lot of these TV movies. But there's an awful lot of quite good ones. Why am I talking about this? I went on there because the main person that runs that Facebook group and a podcast called TV Terror is Anthony Rutolo, who often comes on for the Kingology podcast, and he actually posted a picture of Kolchak, you know, sitting in his vest in a little motel room making notes. And he says, I'm in my happy place hanging out with Kolchak watching his DVDs of The Night Stalker. And you know what? I kind of want to watch Kolchak again. Because Darren McGavin's so awesome. He just makes great scenes out of what would be nothing with another actor. You know, the way he acts, the way he interacts, the flirting, sometimes his kind of the teasing of people, the way he acts towards the cops is particularly hilarious. Kolchak, it's just so good. It's just so good. I don't know. I remember I got onto it as you were talking about it. But there are quite a lot of books with Kolchak. You know what? I might dip my toes in sometime and get a couple and just try them.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced because I've not heard of any of the writers, so I'm not sure how good that could be, but it might be worth a try. It's an interesting sort of little thing. I honestly didn't realise there was so much Kolchak material. It's almost like it feels like there's so many different authors doing stuff about Kolchak. It's almost like it's because it's not in copyright, so they're just ripping it. But it can't be. It's still in copyright. So, but that's how it kind of feels. It's like people doing, I don't know, their own version of Professor Challenger or something like that, or Sherlock Holmes. You know what I mean? It's kind of, there's lots of people doing it. Weird. Anyway, I'll talk way too much about that. I wouldn't mind seeing those comics though. Right, my first one. I'm gonna do. I've played a couple of new board games, so I'm gonna. And I've got a couple of movies to talk about, but I'll alternate them. So, first board game, Captain Sonar. Interesting board game. It's for 2 to 8 players. I played it there were 7 of us, but we kind of managed to figure it out between us. And essentially, the easiest way I can describe it is a bit like playing Battleship, but on a team basis, and the ships move. So there's like... if there are 8 playing, it's 4 of you on one side of a shielded area, and 4 on the other. So you put up like barriers between you, so you can't see the other's boards and cards and stuff. And like each person's got a separate job. There's a captain. There's someone who's trying to track the other team's progress through waters. And one person is like got to coordinate things like torpedoes and sonar calls and various other special abilities that your submarine can do. And then the other person's like the engineer, and he tells you what's available to use. And as it goes, it's like, oh no, we can't use the torpedoes until we've done these actions. And then the engineer's saying, well, we need to go east, because basically going east and west, moving around starts disabling bits of your equipment until you do a certain number of moves in a certain way. Then it'll re-enables everything. So you can't just willy-nilly fire stuff everywhere. You have to like build up credits, as it were. I'm making it sound really boring, right? And that's not my intention. But it's kind of fun. It's all done in real time, which makes it kind of frenetic. So you're both hunting the same waters, but you don't know exactly where each other are. But what happens is, for example, as the guy that's doing the tracking, he basically draws on a sheet, a clear transparent sheet that overlays the map. They've gone one north, they've gone one west, they've gone two north, they've gone one east, they've gone one south. So he's drawn a pattern, and then he has to try and match that with the pattern of islands on the map and try and figure out where that boat is. Yeah. And at some point they have to surf. You can then say, I've put our sonar call, what sector you're in. The sector's like about 16 possible points, say. I don't know, I can't remember the exact distance. And then you say, yeah, I'm in sector 3. And so therefore he's got a map charting your progress, so he can lay it over sector 3 and try and figure out the exact place you are. And if you've got right range, you can fire a torpedo. So that's the idea. It's kind of cool. It's kind of fun. It's not a game I'd buy, but I kind of enjoyed it. I was very confused at first. And I think I'd have to play it turn by turn slowly for the first few times I played it to get used to it, and then move on to real time. But it was kind of fun. Kind of liked it. It's on Game Board. Board Game Geek. They rate it 7.9, so it's pretty high. Anyway, back to you.
Okay, now I've been watching a show it's had a second series that came out recently, but I think it was first released a couple of years ago. It's called, it's got a long Japanese name, but it's sort of shortened to Konosuba.
Okay.
And it's about this guy. He's a complete shut-in, and then he dies of I can't remember what it is, but it's like super pathetic way of dying.
Okay.
And he is greeted by a goddess who says, you can either go on to like heaven and paradise, or you can go to this fantasy world with one item, no matter what. The item has no restrictions. It could be like super overpowered. It could be basically the One Ring if he wants.
Yeah.
But he has to beat an evil overlord.
Okay.
And he's like trying to figure out what he wants to take. She starts getting She's complaining, getting all bitchy with him. So he says, "Okay, I'll take you."
Right.
So he's stuck in this fantasy world. He's got no idea how it works. She's stuck with him. She's got no idea how it works. And it basically spirals out of control from there.
Yeah.
And that's it. That's the premise.
Right. Okay. Enjoying it.
Yeah, it's pretty fun. It's like a screwball comedy just with a fantasy setting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Okay, shall I do the next one?
Yeah, go ahead.
A movie. I think we've covered this. I can't remember. Have we covered Shoot 'Em Up?
No, we haven't.
Clive Owen, Paul Giamatti, and Monica Bellucci. 2007 action film. Very fun. Very fun. Have you seen it?
No.
It's one of those films that's intentionally silly, but in a clever way. Like everything in it happens for a reason. The plot, the dialogue's there to either extend the plot or make jokes. That's all it exists for. There's no character development. There's a tiny bit. And it's basically, the template for this was apparently Bugs Bunny and Elmer Fudd. For example, Clive Owen is constantly eating carrots, and he actually kills a few guys with a carrot. several guys with a carrot in ingenious ways. He kills 3 or 4 in different ways with a carrot, let's put it that way. Monica Bellucci is this strange, like, sex worker who also, part of her sex work thing is she lactates. Now, this guy, he saves this pregnant woman. Well, he doesn't save her. He finds a pregnant woman being hunted down, kind of shoots all the bad guys. She gives birth to a baby, promptly gets shot, leaves him with the baby. And he decides he's going to look, and he realises the bad guys are trying to kill the baby, so he has to look after it. So he goes and finds this woman who's lactating, so she can feed the baby, and then it goes on and on and on. Paul Giamatti is the bad guy who, at one point, there's even a scene where Paul Giamatti's got Monica Bellucci hostage, and Clive Owen kind of comes up behind him and said, "What's up, Doc?" And he turns around and goes, "You wascally wabbit." And it's got some nuts action scenes in it, really proper nuts. You know, the nearest film I can think of that I know you've seen is probably. Have you seen Crank?
Nope.
Okay, you've seen Punisher Warzone. Imagine Punisher Warzone. You know that in Punisher Warzone, the villains were the nutso ones, right? They were the crazy, goofy ones, and Punisher was super serious. Well, imagine if both sides are kind of crazy nutso types.
Okay.
It's kind of like that. It was good fun. I've enjoyed it very much. I'll give it 4 out of 5. Anyway, back to you.
Okay. Now, we were goofing off. Me and some friends were goofing off around my house, and we found that, there was 2 films that we found online. One was the Street Fighter movie, and the other was the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie.
Wow, I haven't seen either of those, but they look properly 80s goofy. I know that.
And we saw this, and we had to watch it, because we knew it was going to be both awful and glorious. And we were completely correct.
Street Fighter, let me guess, it's... not guess, is it Jean-Claude Van Damme and Raul Julia?
Yeah, Raul Julia's last acting part.
And isn't Kylie Minogue in it as well? Or am I dreaming?
I think so.
Wow.
If she is, I didn't remember it.
Okay. So I think she wears a red beret. I might be mixed up with something else, but yeah, okay.
Oh, Cammy, yeah. But yeah, both of these films are absolutely atrocious. Like, don't watch them unless you actively want to see something awful. The only redeeming features about both films are the villains. Raul Julia is awesome as M. Bison.
Yeah.
Like, he's the only good thing about this entire movie. He's got the only good dialogue, aside from one joke from some random dude. He's the... It's a sort of semi-famous line on the in like the movie industry now. It's like he's walking around this girl. She's been after him her entire life. He's the equivalent of the 6-fingered man to her.
Yeah.
He's like destroyed her village, killed her father, everything. And he's walking around. He's like, the day that M. Bison came to your village, slaughtered your people, and took over, was the defining moment of your life. For me, it was Tuesday.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice speech.
Yeah, so it's the same sort of thing with the Power Rangers. They've got this like...
It's like a woman, isn't it?
No, it's a goo man called Ivan Ooze.
Oh, well,
and he's lamenting all the things that he's missed while he's been locked away. Because he's been locked away for thousands of years, of course. And he's like, the Black Plague, and he blows something up. The Spanish Inquisition.
Nice.
The Brady Bunch reunion.
Nice. I think I'd enjoy these.
Yeah, they're complete schlock, but it's really stupid funny.
Yeah, you enjoyed them, right? I saw it on YouTube.
I found them on YouTube, but I think the Power Rangers movie is on Netflix.
Nice. Okay. No, YouTube though, otherwise.
Yeah.
Cool. Sounds fun. Okay, I'm going to go with another game.
Yeah.
This... no, I have to be careful not to get into the nitty-gritty because that's boring to listen to, but let me try it. It's called Deception, Murder in Hong Kong. Again, played it from new. Pretty easy to pick up. Essentially, there's one guy who's like the controller of the game, and everyone playing gets 4 items which are pictures face up. So, for example, it could be a hammer or a chair or powdered drugs or a pot plant or something like that. And then 4 other items that are nothing to do with... They're not like potential murder weapons, which the other ones are. They're like just random items to indicate possibly location or details about the potential murderer. And examples of that might be a tattoo or a wheelie bin or something like that. So everyone gets 8 cards. 4 of them are potential murder weapons, and 4 of them are information. Right, just general information. Now everyone gets a card, apart from the guy that's controlling the game, and one of those cards is going to be the murderer. Right. If you're the murderer, everyone's got their eyes shut, and the controller says, will the murderer open their eyes? And you open your eyes, and then they say, show me the murder weapon and show me the clue. Right? So you get to choose which one you want to be the murder weapon and which one's clue. So you look at all the other cards and you think you're basically looking for things that disguise you. So you wouldn't, if you were the only one there with like a, I don't know, cocaine, you wouldn't pick that. But if there's a hammer and someone else has got an axe and someone else has got a hacksaw and someone else has got a sledgehammer, you pick the hammer because you're kind of covered by other people having something similar. And then you do similar location. And then everyone closes their eyes again. And then what happens is the guy who's the controller of the game, he can't talk from that point on. He turns up like a number of cards with loads of words on and puts a marker on words that he thinks would indicate who the murderer is. And then everyone else has to work out from the clues who might the murderer be. And everyone can argue. So if you're the murderer and they say, oh, yeah, that's that and that, and you say, no, it's not me, I'm not the murderer, but if you look over there, it could be that. Do you know what I mean? So you're trying to put people off and they're trying to guess. Basically, you get, I think, 7 clues, and then everyone has to say who did it, what they was the murder weapon, or what was the thing that you caused the murder, and what was the clue. And you've got to get all 3 right to win. And if no one gets it, and everyone gets 1 guess... Right, and that's it. That's the game. 20-minute game. Really, really fun, actually. Not bad at all. And I think I've described it pretty well, actually, that time. Sound like the sort of game you might like?
Sounds okay.
Yeah, it sounds all right, doesn't it? Board Game Geek is a 7.6. And it's pretty fun. One of the things I like about it is really fast. Though it's apparent I did play as like the guy controlling it. It's kind of mind bending because you've got to try and think about how people think. And you're trying to get them to figure out who the murderer is. So you've got to give the clues such that it's a clearer indication as possible of who it is, without indicating anyone else. And it's kind of supposed to be quite difficult. But we'll see. Okay, back to you.
Okay, my last thing is I started watching the new Netflix show, Series of Unfortunate Events.
Oh, okay, Lemony Snicket thing. That's with
Neil Patrick Harris.
Oh, he's awesome.
Yeah.
How is he?
No, he's okay, though. I'm kind of in the rarity in this. I prefer the film version of Count Olaf to the TV series version.
Really? Do most people prefer the TV one?
Yeah.
I haven't seen the TV one.
The film is almost like universally reviled.
Is it really? I think it's pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It's episodic for sure.
Yeah.
You know, there is that problem.
They were condensing 3 books into one film. So they kind of had to be. But the thing about Count Olaf is he's pantomime, but he's not as mustache-twirlingly evil as he is in the show.
Yeah.
And in the show, he's almost incompetent with what he's doing.
Yeah.
In the books, he's super pantomime about everything, but he's smart and he covers everything up. In the show, it's almost like he doesn't really care if he gets caught.
Yeah, no, he doesn't. You're quite right. It is kind of like that, and he kind of gets caught out, but it has there's no consequence in the film, is there? That's the thing.
Like there's this whole bit in the book and the show and the film where they have to the Baudelaire children have to cook him a meal, and they make him spaghetti and turns out he wanted roast beef. And in the books, like, when all his like henchmen just immediately go along with what he's saying the second he says it. In the film, that he's like, "Oh, this meal is disgusting." They all put down their knives and forks for a second and then pick them back up and go back to eating.
All right. Oh.
In the film, they're like in on it before it starts. So they're like they don't start eating at all.
Right.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
This is what I mean. It's like little things where it bugs me.
Is it more? I don't know the books. Do you know if it's more like the books than the film? Or?
It's more like the books, aside from the parents surviving.
Yeah.
That's not a thing in the books.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Right.
And,
okay. Are you carrying on with it, though?
I might. I'm not sure.
I'm hearing a few... there's a few other shows on Netflix that are worth a watch.
It is weird to see Patrick Warburton not doing a funny role.
Really?
Yeah. Because it's Kronk.
Right.
Kronk, Joe from Family Guy is that guy, but it's him doing like a dead straight, dead serious performance. It's really unnerving. It's weird. Kind of unnerving because he doesn't sound like Kronk or Joe.
Yeah, like I'm trying to think. That's the guy. Voice. I always take him as what's that family of actors that are always in everything?
Baldwin.
No, yeah, Baldwin. I always take him as a Baldwin. He's one of
he does kind of look it.
Yeah. That's weird.
Yeah.
I've heard that. What's the show? Dirk Gently's Holistic Detective Agency is supposed to be pretty good on Netflix. I'm going to give it a try sometime. It's just got so many other things I want to watch. Still not caught up with Sherlock at the minute. I want to catch up.
Yeah, I've not been hearing good things about that.
Yeah, don't tell me any spoilers. I know there's spoilers for it. I've avoided.
I don't know about it. It's just I've heard bad things about it.
Okay. Well, haters gonna hate. All right. Okay. All right. My turn.
Mm-hmm.
My one is a movie called Jack Brooks Monster Slayer. Heard of this one?
It sounds familiar.
I'd never heard of it. It's just some of my colleagues on the United Nations of Horror reviewed it in a double bill with Tucker and Dale versus Evil, which I think is a good film. Have you seen Tucker and Dale? Did we do it? I can't remember.
Yeah, we did it for podcast.
Yeah. Did you enjoy it? I can't remember.
Yeah, we both enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a pretty good film. Anyway, they listened to them talking about it a bit. I didn't want to spoil it, so I listened to the beginning to get their kind of view. It made it sound pretty good, so I thought, well, I'm going to stop listening to this podcast now and go and watch the movie. It's not easy to track down, I have to say. I managed to get it. I think it's a Canadian horror movie, and it's got Robert Englund as this professor of chemistry. Actually, he's a nice chap. You know, he's got a kind of lonely old guy vibe about him. It's a real change to see Robert Englund in something other than Freddy. But it's distinctively Robert Englund. He's very good in it. But the weird thing about the comedy is the main guy, Jack Brooks, is not very sympathetic. He's kind of angry. He's not very articulate. He's got proper anger management issues. He goes right into one if something frustrates him. And he's kind of, as I say, not articulate. He's kind of a schlub. He's a plumber, but not a good one. It feels like everyone's picking on him. He's got a bit of a chip on his shoulder. But we do see early on that like a monster came out of nowhere and kind of killed his entire family. And he ran away, and that's what's caused his sort of psychological problems. He always felt guilty about running away, even though he was only a little kid, he couldn't do anything. But it's one of those films that as it goes on, you enjoy it more and more. It reminded me of Goon in that respect. You know, the more I watched, the more I enjoyed it. And I'll tell you what, it's got some great practical effects. I don't think there was any CGI in it. And some of the monsters in it were awesome. And they kind of reminded me a bit of Harryhausen's monsters, you know? The stop-motion monsters, but brought to life.
Yeah.
And these people were wearing complete rubber outfits, but looking, say, a bit like the Cyclops from Sinbad movies.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, not a big Cyclops. They were normal size people, but that's how they looked, and it was really terrific. And it turns out it's called Jack Brooks Monster Slayer. It also starts with like an African village having a monster, and they all run to this hut to talk to this guy who's got a big scar on his arm, and you kind of see him prepping, a bit like Rambo-ish kind of thing. You kind of know it's going to be him, and it turns out it's him at the end. And basically, he has a big fight. And there's another turn by a great actor, and I kind of know the guy, but couldn't place him anywhere. But he was a really old man in this. I made up, I think, to look quite old, but he's still kind of old anyway. Do you know what I mean? Just made to look older. Called David Fox. Has played this guy called Old Howard that had this story about this demon that he uncovered when he was a kid that caused his uncle to go mad and start eating things. And it was fun. It was really fun. So I really enjoyed it. So if you get a chance to see it, try and see it. So is that it for our conference?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's go get into Star Trek then.
Get on with it. Yes, get on with it. Get on with it.
Okay, Star Trek. Star Trek: The Final Frontier. This came out in 1989. Now, just so you know, I did a bit of prep for this, which I don't usually do. I really enjoyed William Shatner's books about his life with Star Trek, one was called Star Trek Memories, which is about the original show, the 3 seasons of the show. And he put out a second book called Star Trek Movie Memories, and he talks about each of the films he was involved in, from the first one up to Generations. I reread the chapters on these two, because 5 is particularly interesting, because Shatner directed it, right?
Yeah.
So he obviously wanted to have a crack after Leonard Nimoy successfully did it twice. He wanted to have a go. And the studio were on board with it. And apparently a lot of the plotting of this originated with him. He came up with the ideas. And he says the ideas came originally from televangelist preachers on the TV. He couldn't believe people were sending him money and they were getting super rich. And then it occurred to him, what happens if someone in space said that God was talking to them, and they had this kind of charisma, and that's where it all started. But anyway, I think we've covered this film before, right?
No, we haven't.
Oh, we haven't. Okay, so what was your general feeling about this one?
It wasn't great.
Not
it was
great.
really,
Not
it was really like there'd be good moments, and then it'd just trough completely. It had short peaks and deep troughs.
Yeah, it wasn't great. I mean, I was reading the book. He was talking about some of his ideas, and he actually did want, apparently the character Cybok was originally called Tsar, and he was like an evil guy. He wasn't. There was no good about him. It was like he was just manipulative. You know, he wanted to get his own way to get to God, as it were. And then the studio got involved, and it says, well, you need to soften this guy, and there needs to be a reason spot. Why would the whole crew... Basically, it was all about Kirk saving the universe when no one else could see that it wasn't really God, as it were. You know what I mean? Which is kind of comes through. And they couldn't figure out why on earth Spock would turn against Kirk. You know, just Spock wouldn't do that. So they softened the character, and he became like Spock's brother, which was a good idea, good bit of plotting. And then the studio heads got involved and said, sorry, you can't have God in this, because apparently the original finale had God in all these incarnations, depending on who was looking at him. But when they kind of Kirk picks a fight with him, he actually turns into the devil.
Oh, okay.
And it turns into it's the devil, and I think it's literally the devil was in the original screenplay, and there was gargoyles attacking him and all sorts. And, the gargoyles had to go out because they said, we're not paying for that. And they were like going through the script really badly. And in the end, they said you can have 6 rock monsters. And you know what? I thought there were rock monsters in this movie just from reading the book. But obviously, when we watched it, there weren't, was there? And And then they cut it and they said, no, we can't afford 6 more rock monsters. You can have 3 rock monsters. And then they come back and said, we can't afford 3 rock monsters. You can have 1 rock monster. And because he was so invested, what happens is when you're so invested in something, you kind of, in the end, you just give up arguing and say, yeah, we'll make it work somehow. And of course, he kept agreeing to this. And until he was, he'd actually been in the director's chair, he just didn't realise how much compromise it all involved. So it sounds like it was an interesting project for him. But and he kind of feels good about some of it. I think some of it was pretty good. Like you say, there were good bits, then it went flat. And there were some real arty bits, wasn't there? There was some really nice, the riding across the desert stuff was kind of cool. But then we get Nichelle Nichols doing a fan dance. It's like, no,
and then the 3-breasted cat lady.
3-breasted cat lady.
There's all sorts of stuff. There's all sorts of stuff that, like, you're watching, it's like, why did they put, like, this 3-breasted cat stripper in this? It's like, oh yeah, Shatner directed this.
Yeah, and his daughter was in it. Didn't I? I didn't realise it was his daughter. I did say to you at the beginning, look,
she was like standing in the back of every shot.
Yeah, and the same, she's got weird hair, and I said to you, I bet she's like a studio head's daughter or something like that. And it was Shatner's daughter. What do you think of Cybok, the acting from Cybok, and the character?
He was okay, but I didn't really get the premise, if you will. Like, I didn't understand his power that well.
No, his power was not explained well. It was kind of like he relieved people's pain, and then they
relieved their pain, and then they listened to him. I think.
I mean, I took it as it was almost like a Jesus allegory, right? That's how I took it.
But then it appeared that McCoy was taken by it, and then he just sort of shrugged it off. Spock, it didn't even affect him. Kirk just straight up told him no.
Yeah.
And it didn't... Like, beyond that, he couldn't really do anything.
Yeah. I mean...
All it would have taken was one of those ambassadors saying no, and that's that.
Yeah. What do you think of the whole premise of, like, this galactic place of peace being this right shithole?
Oh, yeah. I always find, like, ideas like that really funny, where they've...
That was fun. It was good.
Yeah.
And I kind of like the 3 ambassadors who just like...
It was very Mos Eisley.
It was deliberately Mos Eisley, but I kind of like the idea. I kind of like the sand, the desert people kind of stuff, but the plot was kind of all over the place a bit. It kind of came together at the end. It was like, oh yeah, they're doing this just to get a starship to come and intervene, just so they can steal it to go find God. Kind of thing.
Yeah.
I made a note of what I thought was the particularly bad ideas, and the cat lady is one of them. And the fan dance is the other one. And I've also made a note that the insta-siding with Cybok seemed like ridiculous.
Yeah.
It didn't work. It felt almost as contrived as... it reminded me a bit of like when Anakin suddenly turned Sith in Revenge of the Sith. It was like they didn't earn it. We didn't feel a mechanic where that worked.
Actually, I had someone like explained this to me, and it makes more sense to me now.
Explain it to us. Then.
Explain so. Okay, so Anakin has been like at the Sith. I'm talking about the Star Wars thing.
Okay, we're going off on a completely different. Right, go on. Yeah.
Do you really want me to?
No, go on. Yeah.
Okay, so Anakin has been. He's been with the Jedi for, I think it's 12 years at this point.
Fighting in a big battle.
13, sorry. He's been at war for 3 of them.
Yeah.
And he's perpetually being taught to not follow his emotions, not give in to do this, that, and the other.
Yeah.
And obey the law. What's the thing that Mace Windu does when he gets there? He says, we've got to kill this guy, no trial.
Good point.
So he's basically immediately thrown all the Jedi teachings out the window to kill this Sith.
Yeah, that
someone who's not proven to be a Sith. Someone who's not proven to be a Sith yet.
I like the.
If you watch the scene, Anakin does say something. He says something along the lines of like, "We need to like put him on trial or something like that."
Yeah.
And Mace Windu just says, we've got to kill him, and then goes to kill him. So,
that makes a lot of sense. I wish it'd been written better.
Yeah.
It would have been fine. Yeah. Anyway, let's get back to Star Trek.
Yeah.
It's my own fault for bringing Star Wars into it.
Yeah.
What are the bits you liked?
Oh,
hold on, before we get into that, was there any other bits you didn't like? It started with the campfire. Apparently, Shatner was planning the whole thing with like Cyborg laughing, and then suddenly it'd like zoom out of the planet right into deep space, and then zoom towards Earth. Keep zooming and zooming and zooming onto the continent, onto the mountain, until you saw a speck of someone climbing up the mountain, all in one like continuous shot, which they didn't do, but they did some pretty nice shots of epic shots of someone on a mountain, right? That was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then we get Kirk climbing up the mountain and stuff like that. What do you think of that?
I thought it was okay. It clearly wasn't Shatner, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, then they went to the studio, didn't they? And Shatner talking to Spock. Apparently, Shatner talks about they did a shoot where they had to hang him off. He wanted to get a really spectacular shot of him, climbing in quote marks. But they had to hang him off the side of a mountain for like hours while they were trying to get this shot. But then the clouds came in, which ruined the shot, and they just had to shoot after 2 hours. He's frightened of heights. Right, but he said, they said you don't have to do this, Bill. And he said, "No, it'll be fine," because he's Shatner. But apparently he was terrified. In 2 hours, he was hanging over the side of this ledge, and they couldn't get decent shots. So when they took it, and he saw the dailies, he said it looked worse than the fake studio set. It looked like he was about 10 foot off the ground because it was all out of focus behind him because of the poor light. So it's like, shame. And I did laugh though. I like the campfire stuff, the whole row your boat. I liked it. I know it gets people take fun out of that, but I kind of liked it. Spot.
Yeah.
Life isn't a dream. All that.
I didn't understand. There was a lot of bits that I questioned in this film.
Like what?
Like there's the whole mind control thing. There was the whole bit where Cyborg tries to use his mind controlling thing on the god.
Yeah.
Which, like, that is like, okay, sure.
It kind of ended with Cyborg throwing himself into the god thing, didn't it?
Yeah.
That was because basically they didn't have an ending. They had to do something because the studio wouldn't pay for the special effects. What they were paying, but every daily looked terrible. And he said they were doing outside shooting, so they surrounded it with smoke, and it looked reasonably okay. And apparently it breathed fire. This one rock monster breathed fire on day one. Then that packed up, but they managed to get smoke coming out of it on day 2. But apparently there was a bit of a breeze, which meant the smoke blew away straight away. So it just looked like a goofy rubber monster rather than being a smoky, weird thing. So they just couldn't use that. So in the end, they went with arc lights. So Shatner described it as well. So it ended up with me being chased by a 100-watt bulb. Because they couldn't use the rubber monster, so they decided they could do a bit of cutting where the god head thing kind of chased them, which is it kind of looked goofy. Considering they had nothing, it's not that bad, but it is pretty bad. So the last 10 minutes are pretty appalling, actually. But I kind of liked it. I don't think it's as bad as some people say. I reserve that for some to come, actually.
Yeah. I think it's frustrating because it was too open and shut as a Star Trek film. Star Trek films are big on their lasting effects. So, like Wrath of Khan, the effect of that was 2 more films. There's going to be whales in the sea from now on. There's going to be the lasting effect of the 6th film is that the Enterprise is being decommissioned, so that's the last we'll see of it. This is like, well, we went to see Space God, and that was it.
Right, yeah, and Shatner had a row with Space God. Right?
Yeah.
I really liked the scene with... There was a couple of scenes I really liked, actually. I'm trying to think of the other one, but one of them was the scene involving McCoy reliving the death of his father.
Yeah.
I thought it was really interesting and well acted by DeForest Kelly.
Thing is, like, I was watching that scene and I was sitting there thinking, McCoy would just tell him to get stuffed.
Yeah.
Like, straight away.
Well, the backstory is...
Cyborg could come up to him and go, like, show me your penny. Go, get screwed.
Yeah. But anyway, the way the scene plays out is still pretty good. I thought it's a good piece of acting, a nice, well-constructed
Call him a
scene.
green-blooded goblin or something.
Did he? Nice.
No, I was saying he'd call him a green-blooded goblin or something.
And old Shatner getting angry when doesn't he say shoot him, and Spot won't.
Yeah.
And old Kirk goes mental. It was kind of fun. But there were some really dodgy moments too.
Yeah.
We've already talked about
the comedy wasn't really there for this film.
Yeah, there was the whole reliance on jet boots was a bit weird as well. For comic and escaping effects, it was kind of weird.
Yeah. There's a weird bit where Scotty breaks him out of prison at one point, and he's like walking along, he goes, I know the shit like the back of my hand, and just walks straight into a bar.
And knocks himself unconscious.
Yeah.
That was weird. Weird bit of comedy. It felt like the crew were just there for comic stuff. For example, you see
Scotty and Uhura almost have a romance.
Oh yeah, there's a bit of flirting going on with that, which is fine. But there was the bit where it starts, the bit where Sulu and Chekhov are hiking in the woods and they're lost for comic effect. It's like they're just doing this so the characters have got something to do. It just doesn't really go with the rest of the film, does it?
Oh, I tell a lie. There was one good joke.
What's that?
And that's like right at the end, while like the Klingons are like they've helped them out, and they're all like together at like a meal or something. They're hanging out together.
Yeah.
And this huge Klingon woman starts walking past, and Chekhov and Sulu are like walking right behind her, looking at her ass.
Yeah, so nice.
She walks past this other huge Klingon fella, and the guys just both turn on the spot and walk away.
Yeah. Of course, they did have a Klingon antagonist in this who really got underused, didn't they? He wanted to hunt down Kirk, and because he was following them to like where God was. And they used these.
Turns out it's not that difficult to get to where God is.
No, God's there all the time. Anyway, it was an alien presence that was trying to escape the planet and needed a starship, right? Because, I mean, Kirk says the obvious thing, why would God need a starship? And he starts saying, you know me, right? And all this. It was like a kid saying to Santa Claus, you know what I want. It was a bit like that. It was kind of goofy. So it had its problems for sure. I did enjoy it, though. Overall, it wasn't the best entry. Would you say it's the weakest one we've seen so far, or would you leave that for the motion picture?
Actually, think about it. It was at least interesting to look at. The motion picture was just boring through and through.
So you'd put this like second worst after the motion picture of the ones we've watched so far, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so those 2, 3, and 4 are solid ones. We kind of agree on that. Okay. What would you give this on out of 10?
I'd give it a 6.
Me too. Give it a 6. I think it's somewhat enjoyable. It's not as bad as... I mean, I think its IMDb is pretty bad, actually. Let me just have a look. I don't think it's as bad as that indicates. I think it's something like 3.8. Let me just check. He said, from profound ignorance, because I can't remember if I checked or not. Let's have a quick look. Oh, it's one of those ones because he's got a weird number. It's hard to find. You know, they use a V instead of 5.
Yeah.
It is. I'm wrong. 5.4. So actually, we're not too far from now. We're at 6 each. Yeah. Okay. Let's have a little break and then get on to the next one.
Okay.
Okay. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. Now, I'll just talk a bit about what was in the book. This came together really quickly, really rushed. There was lots of shenanigans about who was the writer, because the studio kept insisting on certain writers be involved, even though this was kind of... Leonard Nimoy came up with some of the ideas, along with, I think it's Nicholas Meyer, the director. You know, making it like an allegory on Gorbachev and that kind of business. And they would come up with this, and then the studio said, well, we've got these writers already. Can they come talk to you and get some of the ideas? And then the writers turned up, and they threw some around. But apparently they were rubbish scripts, so they didn't use them. One of their own. But then towards the end of the thing, the writers sued for stealing their ideas. So it was like a right mess. So how this turned into... I think this is a pretty solid one.
Yeah, it's a pretty decent film.
It sounds like the whole look, and also because they wanted to exploit the fact it was coming up to the 50th anniversary, they wanted this film done almost twice as fast as it would
50th.
normally be. Sorry, 25th. 25th.
Yeah, I was about to say that was last year.
No, it's 50th now, isn't it? 25th, so they wanted to exploit that, so they wanted it done in double quick time. And apparently they had an entire plot about the young academy. You know, them at the academy with younger actors.
Yeah, I've heard it's a prequel. It was going to be a prequel.
And then they said, one studio guy said, no, we've got to include Shatner and at least Shatner and Nimoy in this.
Yeah.
Somehow. And then they come up with the idea of, they could be having cadets around the campfire or something and say, let me tell you a story. And then it cut to the new crew. And the idea of that is, if it didn't work out, if people like the new crew, they could just then start making films with the new crew, cheaper actors and all that. And if it didn't work out, they could just go back to the old crew. Because all it was like an interlude. So they were trying to have their cake and eat it. And everyone thought that was great. And then the studio head found out that they were trying to do this on the cheap, and he went mental. He said, nah, we're not doing that. We're doing it with the full crew. It was a new studio head or something.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there was all that to do. There's all this writing stuff, and they managed to produce this out of that mess. Quite impressive.
Yeah.
Actually. I do like this one. What was your thoughts?
It was pretty fun. It was a bit in your nose with the Cold War allegory, but
yeah.
And
the thing is, it is canon. It went into canon. That is what what they talk about here. The Klingons and the Federation do make peace, and they become integrated somewhat, not entirely, but somewhat. So that's kind of fun. Is there anything you didn't like? Bit in your face, you were saying.
Yeah, the allegory is a bit in your face. Also, I don't think the motivation was that great for the villains, I should say.
What, they didn't want the peace?
Yeah, they were just saying, we want war because that'd be good for us, maybe?
Well, they just didn't want that. They didn't believe. Basically, the Klingons didn't trust the Federation, or some people in the Klingon Empire didn't trust the Federation, and some people in the Federation didn't trust the Klingons. So they actually bizarrely worked together to stop the peace happening.
That's the bit that confuses me. They
that's a more
together.
deep political thing that is quite uncommon in Star Trek, actually.
Yeah.
It's more like Dune, that kind of political shenanigans. Or, Game of Thrones, if you want to get into, fantasy kind of equivalences. I liked it. I thought it was solid. Kim Cattrall actually was offered, a part, and she declined because she thought they wanted to do a Sarvik, because I've got a feeling she tested as Sarvik. And she just felt, I don't want to do someone else's role. But then they explained, no, it's a different character and all this. And apparently she came up with all that weird haircut and everything.
That haircut was stupid.
Yeah, she came up with all that. And she was involved. We also saw Christian Slater in a I think an uncredited bit part. He just asked to be on. So, but I think
his mother was the casting director.
But he was a known actor at this point. We knew Christian Slater was when he appeared on screen. But I think you told me that Grace Lee Whitney was going to be delivering that line originally.
Yeah, I think it was supposed to be her, because she's on the Excelsior.
She's on. I think she had problems at the time that slurred her speech, so that might be why she had a non-speaking part. But she looked pretty, she looked well in it. It was good to see her again.
You really have a thing for Grace Lee Whitney, don't you?
Well, she's had a really tragic life, actually, so I always feel bad. I'm sort of happy that she managed to do something more Star Trek later on. That's all. What was the main villain in this? On screen, there were several villains, weren't there? But on screen, it was really Chang. right?
Yeah.
What do you think of Chang?
Chang was the most prominent one. I quite liked him.
He was
a
fun.
fairly like hardcore villain for
proper, and he was like really relishing it, you know, chuckling to himself, spouting all that stuff about, you know, let's slip and let. Quite havoc.
There's a bit where he's like just spinning on his chair and screaming Shakespeare quotes.
Yeah, it's like cry havoc and let slip the dogs of war and all this kind of stuff. And he says, to be or not to be, you should really hear Shakespeare in the original Klingon, he says.
Yeah. They do that a couple of times in the film.
Well, the thing is, Star Trek has got a long association with Shakespeare. Cause
No, not just with Shakespeare. It's Chekhov. He goes like, in the famous Russian play, Cinderella, if the boot fits.
Yeah. They're acting like things are like prehistory almost, aren't they? Or, you know. Old.
Yeah. And Spock with his Sherlock quotes.
Yeah, he does a Sherlock quote, and he also says only, as an old Vulcan saying, only Nixon can go to China.
Yeah.
Now, apparently, that was like one of the first things Nimoy thought of when he was thinking of the this plot. So it's kind of cool. What do you think of Kim Cattrall's Valeris?
She was okay, but it was kind of glaringly obvious that she was going to be the mole.
You reckon?
Yeah. Just like, we've got all these people on the ship, and there's one new big member of the crew, but there's a mole. Who could it be?
Yeah. Yeah, all right, fair enough. Yeah. Good point. I didn't see it coming when I saw the film for the first time. I really didn't. What do you think of the scene where Spock does the old mine?
That was pretty brutal.
It was brutal, wasn't it? Properly worked. Kim Cattrall really delivered.
Yeah, and then he put his other hand on her face.
Yeah,
and it was like you knew it got real then.
It was properly grim. And it was
I think kind of made it was she was talking at the same time as he was.
Yeah,
like that really you knew he was properly in her head.
Yeah.
At that point.
And she couldn't stop him. It was too powerful, wasn't it? There is an earlier scene with them where she's looking at a piece of art in his room and says, I don't understand this. It's not logical. And he goes, it's a great line from Spock, really memorable line. He goes, logic. Logic is the beginning of
wisdom.
Wisdom, that's it. And it's like, he's so far past just being a Vulcan now.
Yeah.
You know, he's been around for so long. He knows all this stuff. It's kind of cool. And it's like his relationship with Kirk that's done all that, hasn't it?
Yeah.
You don't feel like... I never feel like Kirk's learnt much from Spock.
No.
But Spock's learnt an awful lot.
Except maybe a few, Vulcan karate kicks or something.
Yeah, but... that reminds me, wasn't there a goofy Vulcan nerve pinch on a horse in 5? That was like...
There was. There was.
Yeah, there was. Anyway, let's get away from it. I think the scene with Valeris is really effective.
Yeah.
And I really like Chang. And then we have this plot where, you know, Kirk's sent into a mine and he gets into trouble, and then he's a shape-shifting alien, and he manages...
Yeah, played by David Bowie's wife.
Yeah, and she did a good turn. She's not an actress, but I think she was pretty good, actually.
Yeah.
You wouldn't have known she wasn't an actress, really. So I thought it was all fun. I really liked David Warner. You know, he was in 5 as like this seedy-looking Earth representative, but in this he plays a Klingon ambassador that's like basically the...
No, he plays the Klingon High Chancellor.
What did I just say? Klingon?
You said the ambassador.
Sorry,
the High Chancellor.
Yeah,
he runs the Empire.
He's basically Gorbachev, right? That's the idea. And they have that really awkward meal. And there's a few dodgy lines in this.
Yeah.
Which are a bit, you know, would you want to live next to one? And the people commenting about the smell of Klingons.
Yeah.
It's a bit, didn't really like that.
Like, it was super awkward. And then, they started quoting Shakespeare, and then they misquoted, and Shatner immediately called them out on quoting Hitler.
Yeah. No, they said we should have our own home world. What are we meant to do when we're being...
We need more room.
And he said, no, doesn't he say Goering, 1939? I was like that. Whoa,
yeah.
Here he goes. Yeah, there's some good. Like, this is really well scripted, I have to
Yeah.
say. I really like the writing on this. I'm just trying to see if there's any other credits that I wanted to go through. We'll just call that give that a miss. So what do you think of the general plot? It was a bit twisty-turny, right?
Yeah. I did like the spaceship fight at the end.
Oh, yeah, it was kind of cool, wasn't it?
With them trying to track down the invisible bird of prey.
Yeah, and
I did like that premise where they had an experimental ship that could shoot while cloaked. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. And I like Chang's face as well.
With the eye patch that's been nailed to his face.
Yeah, he's a proper badass, this one. I really like... He's one of... You know what? I really like Christopher Lloyd when he played the Vulcan bad guy in 3.
Kirk.
Yeah, but I actually think Chang might be my favourite Vulcan bad guy. I just like him.
I don't know. He's got too few of his own lines, I think. Too many of his lines are just quoting stuff.
Oh, I agree, but he plays it excellently.
Yeah, he plays it well. It's just, I think, it's like he never had that sort of thing that Kirk had, where he was Kirk went to him. He's like, "The planet's exploding around us," and he goes, "I know, exhilarating, isn't it?" He never really had that.
I agree. I kind of agree with you. I just really like the relish that Chang. You know, you could tell he was in a room full of humans and he was enjoying himself because he was basically a troll, right?
Yeah. He was just messing with everyone.
Yeah, and at one point he's like talking away on loudspeakers, and I think Bones says, "I'd give some money for him to just shut up," because he's like pontificating away. Just made me laugh.
I did, especially when he was messing with them with the invisible bird of prey. He's like, "I can see you, Kirk. Can you see me?"
Yeah, it's all that. I liked him. And doesn't he say some weird stuff as well? He not just Shakespeare and stuff. He says at one point, he says that in space all warriors are cold warriors, which I don't even understand what that means.
No, not a clue.
There's lots of literary quotes in this, as well as Shakespeare and Hitler, as it were, and things like that. At one point, Chekhov says to Uhura, "Guess who's coming to dinner?" Which is, I think, the name of a movie, actually, but it's a quote from something, but I can't remember what. So I enjoyed this one quite a bit. I think it was a proper step up from 5. I mean, 5 contributes to this idea that the old Star Treks are the bad ones, which I definitely don't agree with when it comes to 3. I can kind of see it with 5. But 6 is a solid return. And this is the last adventure with the full crew. Yeah. The full original crew as well. They were getting pretty old at this point, weren't they? I mean, it worked well, because one of the problems with 5 is we had Kirk doing mountain climbing. He just looked too old for that kind of thing. It wasn't very convincing. So I enjoyed this one. The plot was a bit all over the place, but what else could they do? They had to get Kirk in prison, didn't they, and stuff like that. I think you mentioned that they were using quite a lot of the next gen sets refurbed.
Yeah,
which was
they
good.
were eating in forward 10 or 10 forward rather.
Yeah, they were. It was a good choice because it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
on the movies, and it worked well. And also, we get Michael Dorn as his own father,
is it his own grandfather?
Yeah, that was cool. I kind of like that. I mean, I still really like 2, 3, and 4. I think are my core ones.
2, 3, and 4 are still the best.
Yeah, but this was a pretty good step up, right? I mean, I don't think I had much hope that it was going to be really good after seeing 5. Though I kind of like 5. I like 5 enough to go see 6. Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
But I thought 6 was a vast improvement. Personally. But as I say, I really like Chang. One of the things I really look forward to seeing this film is just to watch Chang chewing the scenery like there's no tomorrow. Okay, what would you give this one out of 10?
I'd give this an 8.
Yeah, me too. I'll give it an 8.2. We're kind of agreeing here, aren't we?
Yeah.
A bit on IMDb, just to give you a feel. It is 7.2. So we rate it a little higher than that, but we're not far off. Okay, that kind of winds it up there. I'm not sure if we're coming back to Star Trek next time, but we are coming back to Star Trek soon. And we'll be covering First Contact and... No, sorry,
Generations and First Contact.
Whoa, highs and lows.
Yeah.
So, until next time, bye from me.
Bye.
Trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward 'cause we can't find rebirth. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Only going forward, still can't find rebirth.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow, Jim.
Starship Captain James T.
Ah, we come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. We come in peace, shoot to kill, ma'am.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
Well, it's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Captain.
There's Klingons on the starboard bow, starboard bow, starboard bow. There's Klingons on the starboard bow. Scrape them off, Jim.
Star trekking across the universe.
On the Starship Enterprise under Captain Kirk.
Star trekking across the universe.
Slowly going forward and things are getting worse.
It's just that.
You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics. Laws of physics. You cannot change the laws of physics. Laws of physics, Jim.
Ah, we come in peace, shoot to kill, shoot to kill, shoot to kill. We come in peace, shoot to kill. Scotty, beam me up.
It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. It's worse than that. He's dead, Jim. Dead, Jim. Dead.
Well, it's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it. Not as we know it. It's life, Jim, but not as we know it. Not as we know it, Captain.
There's